Hey, welcome back to the podcast. This is officially the part 4 of my story on working with the pickup artist. Now, I'm already afraid that I might exceed the bandwidth of what I set out to do. So in this part 4, let's just get right into it. Oh, are you lost? Well, then obviously go back to part 1, 2, and 3. Duh, come on. Let me not waste everyone's time here. The last thing I shared was being at that house party in the Hollywood Hills, hosted by the company that had just recruited me to work with them. It was literally day 2 of me being there. The car of which we used to get to Los Angeles was broken down in the middle of the desert. And part of the reason why I was personally at that party wasn't just because I was starting my journey, a part of this project in this company, but I would be meeting and networking with some of the other team members. So from here, I'm going to use a few pseudonyms. Up until now, I've actually named some people because some people, there's kind of no getting around it. If I'm talking about the founders or co-founders of the company, even if I don't name them, you're just a Google search away from figuring out their names. So whatever, right? I will, just out of the sake of respect, it's not because if this person happens to be listening, it's not because I fear you or whatever, but my marketing mentor, the person I worked most closely with in that company, I'm going to give you a different name just so we all feel cool and safe and flowy, right? But also so that I could just if I have any critiques, I can speak openly and no one has to feel any tightness about it. So my marketing mentor who I met at that party, before I was excusing myself to go and self-regulate in a broom closet and then retire to my blow-up mattress in the walk-in closet of the my new boss's room at the mansion. Before all that, when I was at the party, I was still meeting people on the team. And that was great, by the way. I really want to give credit, even though I said I had some difficulty connecting with the environment. What I had difficulty connecting with was the environment of the party, the nature of the party itself. When it came to actually meeting all of the team, all of the RSD team members that were there, like a handful of the marketing people were at this party, at least for a little bit. They were so cool, so enthusiastic, very energetic, great people. And so I met my mentor, Vlad. That's your name. I met my mentor, Vlad, and he was super nice. He has a really expansive energy, especially in environments like that. He's a marketer, he's a pro. So he's quite a character in how he communicates, because he has, I would say, the variance of communication styles where he can be really locked in, really serious, really logical, really just on task. And then he can also switch to being very silly, almost in a way that's bizarre and unrelatable to most, because it's a little strange to see a grown man be silly, goofy, silly. My interpretation as to why he does that, or why he kind of exists with that variance of communication, is because he's allowed. Same way I do the same thing in a way. I do a similar thing. It's just my expression of life. What's it to you? The other thing I often think is, he is a marketer, he's strategic, so there's elements of pattern interruption in communication. He's just kind of that guy where I find he's very intelligent and cunning and strategic, but I think in some instances he might be also playing a little bit of sleight of hand with how he can almost release your guard a little bit, because he'll be so silly goofy. And I'm not saying that because he has he's a malicious person, he has to play sleight of hand. I think it's probably a way of building rapport, honestly. Because also I mentioned in previous episodes, one of my favorite concepts I learned from pickup artistry is developing not just attraction, that's a little deep there, but getting attention, hooking attention, and then from there you could develop attraction. It's the framework of it's incongruence sparks attraction. So my mentor Vlad, he's the type of guy to so much of the time be wearing power suits, which he does because he is in that role. At the time he's a successful, in his 30s, I think 30 at that time when I met him. He was probably 30, 31, my age now, now that I'm recording, my age. Wow. And he wore power suits often. He was always in a suit and had tattoos And I think there's almost like an incongruence, not that he wasn't the one subscribing to this model consciously that I knew of, but it kind of makes sense, right? Like if he's going to be in a serious power suit, but then be a goofy guy, there's kind of like this interesting asymmetry to him. You know, it can be endearing. It can be endearing. And he's like fun and chill, and he's smart, very smart. And he loves to hustle, whatever. And he was the chief marketing officer of this company at that time. He was the CMO. And when I met him, I remember so precisely the moment of meeting him. Now, funny enough, actually, I had seen Vlad unknowingly earlier that year when I went to use my little consumer passport hot seat ticket that I had. And when I went to the Los Angeles event, which was the first event I attended as a fangirl after posting my little viral YouTube video there. And I remember Vlad giving me like kind of like a thumbs up because he was at that event. Because at that event, the LA based event, so much more of the team can attend because it was local to the team. So it was a much, much bigger event. And I remember seeing Vlad there, and he was like, he was cool. He like kind of had this big smile on his face, gave me the thumbs up. He was like, yeah, you know. I don't know if he said hi to me there. I think he was probably busy working or whatever, but that is actually the first time I remember seeing Vlad. And it's because obviously obviously the CMO, obviously the chief marketing officer would have seen my freaking video. So I kind of felt that like degree of validation from him and the rest of the team when I was at that event for sure. But then later, now fast forward, of course, we're back at the house party after I've been recruited to actually work with the company, after Nick Co, the co-founder, flew me out from Montreal to Vegas from my little cashier job where I'm just in the humdrum of kind of going through the motions. Yeah, I have a dream. Yeah, I have a focus. Yeah, I have an objective. I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to do it, but hey, my phone just rang and it looks like I'm doing it. Okay, now I'm on a flight. I'm on a flight to Vegas. Cool. I'm in Vegas. Great. We're going to play golf. Cool. I'm allergic to cats. Cool. Now we're getting in a car. We're driving to Los Angeles. The car's breaking down. We're getting in the U-Haul. You know, now I'm at the party. I'm feeling nervous at the party, but I'm happy to connect with my new team. Because for me, I'm like, this is my future. This is my life. This is exactly where I want to be. And so I meet Vlad for real on the balcony overlooking the Hollywood, like in the Hollywood Hills. You kind of have this huge view of Los Angeles. It's nice. It's cool. There were all these other people around, probably also people from the team. If you know, it's a little bit, it was, you know, when you do anything new, you go anywhere new, you start a new job and you meet all these new people all at once. It's kind of like a blur, but I'll never forget meeting Vlad because when I was introduced to him, in fact, I wasn't even introduced to him. I think he said, oh, hey, what's up? Yeah, cool. Welcome aboard. You're on the team. You know, he shook my hand. Nice, very warm welcome, very welcoming, great impression. And he said, you're going to be working with me in marketing. And this is interesting. And this is why I was saying previously that I am very, no matter what, like when I'm saying this tell all, or rather tell all that I'm comfortable telling, when I'm saying all of this stuff, I am saying it from a place of having respect and gratitude for the life experience I got to live through my deeply strange special interest. And I do have critical things to say of the company at times, probably not too much that I'm going to reveal because it's kind of not mine to say, but also beyond the company, most of my critiques belong in critique of the industry itself. It's like, okay, yeah, the company's one thing, but what about the industry, like pickup artistry as it exists in the manosphere and as it serves men and how it gets the attention of men and how it can be good and how it can be bad and how maybe is it like the solution for men, for young men who are looking to develop their confidence and find their sense of belonging in the world? Is it really going to be pickup artistry? Is that the answer? Probably not, but it worked, you know? And that's where in my heart, I do have a lot of compassion for men and probably more compassion than most women that aren't thinking about it. And you know, it's not even about gender. It's not even the gender wars. I think I have more compassion for men than even a lot of men do, probably, right? So where that's coming from is just recognizing that as someone who's kind of had the interesting experience of stepping into a community that wasn't inherently built for me and noticing how it's serving everyone, because sure, I'm there because I like engaging with the material that I'm learning, but I'm also there being fascinated. I mean, being a true social dynamics nerd is going to be about, wow, look at me in this social community as an outsider. Look at me observing. Look at me asking these men well, how does this help you? Like, what's your relationship to this material? What does it do for you? What are your takeaways? Where does your brain activity fire off in relation to these things? Which, not to be fucking mean, but in a lot of my conversations with men in these environments, I would realize, like, you know, they don't see it the way I do. And I'm not saying I'm superior, or maybe I am, but what I'm saying is there was so much more to extrapolate from this information and gain wisdom and value from. And I think that my superpower, being that I was always a young girl and then young woman growing up learning this stuff, I always had that added filter. I was talking about it in a previous episode, that added filter of needing to digest any of this pickup bullshit on multiple different levels, because of course I'm not going to blindly subscribe to information from the manosphere. To some extent, surely I did, hence why I mentioned in the first episode that I have felt aspects of misogyny in my brain, in my own mind, and I sometimes wonder, oh, is that because I was like looking at this stuff when my mind was just like a lump of clay? Well, maybe, but even still, even with a little bit of that brainwashing and those downloads, I still always had some sense of like, well, duh, like I'm a woman. And so when they say something like, you know, I'm not saying that this was said by this company, but I'm just going to give an example. Like, if they say something, if someone in the pickup artist industry were to say something to the effect of all women are manipulative, lying cheaters, which honestly, some men in the manosphere have that framework of reality, right? Like, if as a woman, if I'm enjoying some content and then that's said, sorry, that's not going to immediately just like seep into my brain like, oh yeah, for sure. No. And at the same time, to the credit of the nuance in my mind, I'm also not going to do a hard stop. I'm not going to go, no, that's wrong. No, because there's probably, there's like a way to frame this big reductive statement in probably some aspect of like truth or reality. But for it to be this whole wide sweeping blanket statement, no. And I'm saying this to really illustrate the point that when I would speak to men at these events, you know, the men I would meet that are also fellow fans, I would just recognize they see it through a really simple layer a lot of the time, and I'm seeing it on many, many layers in. And I think that's where like some of my extreme fanatical buy-in came from, is I think I was just like seeing it at such a level where I'm like, dude, I'm not even trying to get my dick wet. Like, the pickup stuff is cool. I love flirting. I love attraction. I love that stuff so hard. But largely it was the self-help communication style stuff that really was doing it for me. So anyways, I meet my mentor, Vlad. He tells me I'll be in marketing. And this was my point of going on this tangent. The guys on my team really made me feel great most of the time because I didn't feel like I belonged there in marketing. I had no reason really to be there in my mind. And it was, you know, my mentor, Vlad, I want to give him credit. He was really supportive. He was very supportive. He really took the time. And, you know, now I have the wisdom and sense to recognize just how much time he took with me. And in hindsight, back then when I was working with him and he was just like getting me going, helping me kind of situate myself in the marketing branch of everything, a fish out of the water, I knew then the value of what he was doing, that he was really taking time to make things make sense to me and get me grooving and going and giving me like the tools to have my own agency, not marketing agency, but like agency of behavior and thought, someone who can be making decisions, someone who can run product launches. You know, that's really where I got to with him. I knew back then just how much time and care he was putting into showing me like the stupid, simple groundwork aspects of marketing. And also just like executing, getting the little things done, working out of Excel and everything. But in hindsight, I really do appreciate because since then I've had other jobs where I've trained people, I've brought people on, I've done the hand holding, you know, I've done the hand holding, and I know it's really gratifying because it's fun to see someone gain confidence in something. And it's fun to see someone take off and like do their thing and do it on their own. It's fun to see them remove the training wheels. So as a mentor, it's super gratifying to do so, but it's no doubt a lot of work. Like, it's just that much more work, right? Though, you know, to Vlad's benefit, obviously I myself was really like, yeah, I'm completely a blank slate. I completely need to be trained from the ground up. But if you're going to train anyone from the ground up, I'm confident I'm one of the best ones you could train because I'm intelligent and I'm focused. And as I've been illustrating about work ethic, and I speak a lot about that at length in episode 3, my focus from a young age was always to develop a great work ethic that can stand the test of time and industry. And I believe that because even though something like marketing and digital marketing is something you need to learn, you need to do it and you need to learn it. The underlying principles of a good work ethic, it's just that. It is principles. It's having a level of humility, beginner's mind. It's asking the right questions. It's even knowing how to ask maybe the wrong questions. It's keeping myself in check. It's figuring out, well, what is the path of least resistance in a project, like on a task? How do I offer the most value? How am I maybe like getting in the way of a successful project or in myself? I mean, I was so new back then. And so on that conversation on the balcony at the party, Vlad's telling me, yeah, you're going to be working with me. And he's so excited because he has that like salesman marketing energy in his power suit. And I said, oh, because funny enough, I think maybe Nick had probably mentioned something at that point about me in marketing. Yeah, he had, but I wasn't so sure. And so I told Vlad right away at the party on the balcony, damn, like I'm down. Of course I'm down. I'll be honest though. I don't think it should be me. Like I have no experience. I don't think it should be me working in the marketing team. It shouldn't be me. And I said, like, I always kind of saw myself being a video editor. And I mentioned this in the last episode, like the video editors, they sit there in front of their iMacs in Los Angeles all day long, just editing videos. If you really can imagine what that life would look like, I don't know. I don't know if it's the most compelling tasks, right? Whereas marketing can have some grueling moments to it, but it can also be really stimulating, more fast paced, more dynamic. And I said that to him, that I was basically right away selling myself short. Like, I don't know, bro. Like, I'm so grateful to be here, but I just can't imagine doing marketing. Are you sure? You and your power suit? And Vlad had a great rebuttal to me, which is kind of where my perspective on the editing comes from. And any great marketer should have a great rebuttal because all I did was present an objection, and it's quite literally in his DNA to handle objections. He said, look, just try it out. And if you don't like it, if it's not like, if you're not feeling it, if the whole marketing thing doesn't feel like it's for you, all good. You can do the video editor thing. But like, you really want to be a video editor? Imagine how boring that is. You just sit all day editing videos. And then I thought like, okay, yeah, you have a point. What do I have to lose? Might as well. And if it's true that I have an out, like if it's not for me, it's not for me, right? So that was it. Then the party, I leave, basically. I go to bed, whatever. The very next day, I had a flight because I guess probably the original plan would have been to, probably would have been to drive back with Nick and his wife, probably, I'm assuming. But the car was broken down. So we got flights with, I think, Jet Suite or JetX or whatever, I forget. There's like a little jet thing that flies between, it's like a shuttle bus. It's like it's like an expensive shuttle bus that flies between LA and Vegas. And we went to Burbank because that's where that airline flies from. And I was there, I think, with Nick. But funny enough, there were other people too. So this time, Vlad, my mentor, he was actually flying back to Vegas with us. And, it's a little vague, but a few other people were coming along as well. And I remember the very next day, it's like the next day I meet Vlad, he was wired. Not like why, I don't know. I just mean wired in the sense that he hadn't slept yet. And so now I'm getting to know my new marketer, my new boss. Like, he's my manager. Of course it's Nick who hired me. It's all these guys like are above me in the total in the power dynamics here. But the person, my direct report is Vlad. And I'm meeting him at the hangar for the little jet thing. And he is telling me he hasn't slept. He's telling me, basically he's alleging he had a crazy night. He tells me, he left the party after like an hour, like the Hollywood Hills party, got in his car, had a girl there with him, drove to Malibu, which, by the way, Happy New Year, everyone. It's January 1st, 2026 at the time I'm recording this. And I was in Malibu last night for the first time ever. Anyway, so he's telling me he drove to Malibu. He was at an A-list celebrities little low-key party. I don't know, some weird things. And I'm just there again, kind of like enjoying the ride of my new life. Like, oh, wow, these people are insane, right? Because I don't, compared to the life of Los Angeles and Hollywood and marketing and business and entrepreneurship, all this and that, just being a girl that grew up in the suburbs of the English suburbs of Montreal, just being that compared to all this is like, whoa. You did what? Okay. Yeah, cool. And now I'm going on a jet, which also I want to say this is so funny. I don't want to name names in this instance, but there were some people on the team that they would call the jet thing like, oh, the private jet. It's just like calling the large house in the Hollywood Hills a mansion. It's like rounding up. I love it. It's so funny to me. I think it's amazing. It's hilarious because I think it's hilarious. I just don't agree. Like it's not a private jet. It's a little airline. It's a little plane that seats maybe 20 people, but it's all the same TSA, everything. It's not a private jet, but it's cute that you guys think it is, it's cute. I like that. That's marketing, baby, right? It's like guys that are 5'8" and then they say they're 6'1" or something, it's like, oh, you round it up for optics because it makes you feel better. I don't know, like just call it a big house in the Hollywood Hills. That's cool, bro. I don't have a big house in the Hollywood Hills, but it's not a mansion. Call it a little like a little jet thing. Call it just a jet thing. The moment you call it a private jet, you look dumb. No offense. It just is what it is. So we all flew back the very next day from Los Angeles to Vegas, and Nick's house actually had far more rooms available. So more people were joining from the team and staying there. And in fact, because it was the month of, that's right. That's why people were coming back. If I flew back out there towards the very end of November, when we were coming back, it was actually American Thanksgiving in the United States. It's different from Canada. And the whole team was there. So this was interesting. Sorry, I'm going to throw a little bit of shade here, but I want to talk about the first time I started to experience disillusionment with my mentor, Owen Cook, who I've been calling Tyler up until now, because that's like his pickup pseudonym. And when I first started this podcast, I was doing storytelling through the lens of where pickup started. And back then, this fella, Owen Cook, he went by Tyler, RSD Tyler. But frankly, at this point, I'm now behind the scenes working with the guys, and a bunch of people flew back to Nick's house. So Vlad is there. Owen came to. A bunch of other people from the marketing team were there, and it was really cute. Nick and Amber, I guess, they like hosted a kind of like a Thanksgiving, nothing too deep. It wasn't like an assigned seating quality time thing, but they have a big kitchen and there were a bunch of food, and it was just like buffet style, chill, hang out, like eat food, whatever. And Owen was there, and you have to imagine how I feel. I'm new to this environment. I'm reading the room. I'm excited to be here. Everything in my life has been happening so fast, so suddenly. And I'm very much in reaction to it. It's all really happening. And before I throw shade, actually, even another thing we did as a team, which was so cool. Like, again, shout out to Nick Coe. I know some people listening to this know Nick and they're like, well, what do you mean shout out to Nick Coe? Like, he hasn't always been a perfect person. And surely there's probably a lot I don't know. But I feel like Nick was always just trying to do his best. I think Nick was just very like misguided at times, and that's not an excuse. I don't want to make excuses for him. I have no existing relationship with these people. That it doesn't serve me to make excuses for anyone. But I feel like he's always trying to do his best, because honestly, it was so fun that time in Vegas when we all came back. Nick was like doing like team retreat, team building stuff, which for someone like me who was just joining the team, this was awesome. When we all came back to Vegas, we went to this cool shooting shisha lounge. It was so sick. There's a lounge. I mean, there's probably a lot of these in Vegas because Vegas is just that kind of place. But there's this lounge where it's like an obstacle course. and you can like shoot each other. It was really strange. They must have been BB guns. Like, I don't really understand what it was, but we were doing it. You had like a balloon on top of your head, and the objective was like to shoot it. This is so American. And then when you weren't in the game, when you weren't like in the arena shooting each other, it was so fun, dude. When you weren't in the arena shooting each other, then you could sit outside of the arena on bleachers with the rest of the team smoking shisha. I love shisha. I've always loved shisha. So that was hilarious, you know? And like, here I am thinking, oh my God, I really am living the dream. Can you imagine? Just a week prior, I was working at my grocery store job. Now I'm in Vegas with all the people who I've just kind of worshipped on YouTube for years, shooting them. So fun. I also want to say there was an activity at that thing. I have to say this because fuck throwing shade. I got to throw myself some respect. We were a whole group of people. I actually completely lose track of how many people were there. It was everyone in the Vegas team and anyone who came from LA. So that includes Owen and like Vlad and etc. And there was a cool part of the shooting obstacle where like everyone took a turn, one person at a time, to do time trial target shooting. And it was like moving targets. And I don't, listen, guys, sorry to put your panties in a knot, men, but I don't know if you know this, but women, I think I read this somewhere years ago, that women are statistically better snipers. Okay, so my understanding in combat like that, and I'm not a master in this is far out of my domain, but it occurred to me, especially on this night when we were shooting, men I think are better at that like close reactive. Well, are they better? I don't know about that, but you know what I mean? Like they're more like in that close reactive, close range combat. And apparently women are just like innately, they'll be better snipers, apparently. Okay. Allegedly. And this occurred to me that night because I wasn't even like trying. I have no shooting experience. This is not my domain. At most, the most aiming and shooting I do is when I shoot pool, you know, because the fundamentals of it, the underlying fundamental is there. I have to line up. I have to look at the target. I have to focus and I have to execute, you know, follow through. But I don't ever shoot, ever. And in fact, it was like the weight of a real gun too. So it was really unfamiliar to me because if like, I'm a Canadian, bro, I don't hold guns. The fuck? Like, I don't do that. And, it was like a group of 20 of us, seriously, it was like that big. When we were doing this, like one by one, everyone take their turn shooting a moving target. There were only 3 women in the group. All the rest were men. And guess what? Only 2 people out of the entire group hit their targets. Guess who? Me and one of the other women. That's it. I love that shit. Amen. Shout out. Bitch. Sorry. I just, that was fun because I'm new there. And so it's cool to kind of like leave an impression. Like I did hit the target. I wasn't trying. Like I was trying in the sense that I'll do my best, but let's be honest. Part of it was like luck, or maybe I just locked in. I don't know. Maybe I have unfound potential here. Maybe I should be a sniper. Who knows? It's not quite my thing. So that, like, this is like, shout out to Nick, shout out to the company. I see Nick's vision. He was really, I think at 2017 when he recruited me, a lot of other people also got hired or like started down the unpaid intern thing and then became hired. I think they were really at a point when they thought they'd be scaling, because they were the instructors that were selling their programs were doing great. You had Max. I'm going to talk about Max. Max, I'm not done making fun of you. Sorry, bro. You know what, Max? You're so clean in my mind because I don't give a fuck. I think you and your life, like, go get all your success, go get all your happiness. You know what I mean? But I have a few reasons that I need to set the record straight and make fun of you. I need to troll you because you fucking upset my girlfriend. We're going to get into that. Put a pin in that, bitch. Fuck you. Okay. And also, you made fun of my cousin. I know all about it. Fuck you, bitch. Okay. Okay. I'll calm down. But other than that, Max, like, go be a fucking successful AI hustler. Sure thing, bro. So, but at the time, 2017, dude, Max, crushing it. Max, and this is where, Max, I'll suck your little dick a little bit. Best hustler, super smart. Also, Max, where you deserve flowers with me, when we were working together, you were always so kind. Most of the time, anytime you were hard on me, it was never nothing I could ever be mad about. You were usually right. You're a bit of a diva, but the diva-ness makes you successful. So why not? Anytime you're a bit of a little brat, like, there's a reason for that, because you know what you're doing. Props. So the company was doing well. Here's Nick recruiting people, doing these cool retreats, these cool events. Like, it's so badass, bro. Thank you so much. And then we're at like this Thanksgiving thing. Like, it's just so cool, so much fun. And I'm in like this house in Vegas with all these people. My hero, Owen, is there. My hero, RSD Tyler, also known as Owen, is there. And I'm like totally in awe because this is just so surreal, right? And these are such surreal people to be around. And of course, I'm probably taking more so the angle of just being a little bit more of a fly on the wall, because what am I going to do? Like, inject myself hard and fast into the environment? I'm usually someone that plays more of a slow game. It's not that I'm trying to play games. It's just a level of finding my comfort, finding my footing. And we all ate food together, whatever. And this is where, okay, this was the time when, Owen, I started to feel disillusionment about you, which I also want to be fair to Owen here. He's a person, and that's fine. That's great. It's better being a person. Being a person is better than not being a person. And I don't think that Owen ever tried to lead people to believe he's otherworldly. I don't think so. He's not like Keith Raniere from NXIVM. Fuck. I didn't do any trigger warnings. Just like in the previous episode, I mentioned fucking Charlie Kirk. Now I'm mentioning Keith Raniere. Even worse, honestly. Ugh. Yeah, Owen wasn't trying to be like a delusional cult leader, making people think that he's like made of different matter or whatever. I don't believe that at all. However, as a fan, I can speak on behalf of the people, the fans. All of us true fans had a real nature of being fazed by people like Owen specifically. And there's a reason for that. This guy really is just like, he's very different in how he thinks and how he lives and how he speaks. He's just so different, and different in a really interesting way that I really like. But the thing is, when I had him on a pedestal in my mind, and I still had him on that pedestal in 2017 when I was just getting into the whole thing, I thought so highly of him. Like, he would often speak about, just like consistency, values, congruence, like all these things that were so consistent in their content. And one day at that Thanksgiving thing, he did one little thing that was like, oh, it was the first time I felt disillusionment. And the thing about my process of disillusionment, especially for Owen Cook, it was a gradual chipping away. It took years, honestly, to energetically release Owen from my mind. Years. Up until recently, frankly. It took years, because that's how high on a pedestal I had him in my mind. And again, like I've said, that will never not be true. I'll never walk back from that. I refuse to engage in revisionist history where I deny something that was once true. The reason why I have to make that clear is because I'll never ever tell the world, oh yeah, I'd figured out all of my thought processes and my skill set in communication and social dynamics alone. Oh yeah, no, I was born and I was growing up, and when I was growing up, I just had this amazing perspective and I just made sure I figured it out. And that's me. Haha. No, it started with everything I was looking into from a young age, and it really took shape the moment I had the cojones to just start watching the RSD Tyler videos of way back in the day. Because when I started watching those videos, I had found the individual who speaks clearly to my map. And so if you, the listener, are like, oh, well, I'm curious, I'm going to go watch some RSD Tyler videos. First of all, most of them don't exist anymore. They're all taken down from the internet. So it wouldn't even be accurate. If you go watch present day Owen Cook videos, I'm not discrediting them. I just want to say I don't watch them. So it's not necessarily a reflection of what I was into when I was younger. But I just want to be like really clear. It's my map. Just like I mentioned the character, one of the more polarizing ones, who I really like. Again, I'm going to say this every time I say his name because I want the best for him, and he's already been through a lot through feedback in the world. So I want the best for him. But just like Julian Blanc, way back before he transformed as a person, way back before, I didn't like him. I didn't like his content. I didn't like the bit that he had of being the drama controversial guy. I didn't like it. I saw it as trouble, and it became trouble. I saw him as trouble. And so the way he spoke to people's maps, I mean, Julian, way back before his media scandal, had fans, lots of fans. And so it's something that resonated with their map of reality, it seems. Well, for me, it was always Owen. So that's why the man was on such a huge pedestal in my mind. And at this Thanksgiving thing, finally I get to the punchline. I've been talking about this for so long, but hey, you've been listening to the podcast. This is how I verbal process. No notes today, by the way, guys. Freestyle all the way. No notes. So Owen picked up a slice of cake because there was dessert at Thanksgiving, obviously. And I'm like low-key watching just because I'm observing. I'm not trying to study people in a creepy way, but I'm observing my hero. Come on, the fuck, obviously. And it's so funny. It's so laughable now, but this is where it started. He takes 2 or 3 bites of the cake, which already in my mind, I already was paying attention because Owen would often discuss being healthy. And, you know, I don't think if you're being healthy, I don't think there's anything wrong with having a little bit of a dessert. Hell no. Live your life. Are you kidding me? So I think that's why I noticed it, because I thought, oh, look, he's taking cake. That's reassuring. Like, we can all take cake and discuss health. That's all good. And then he takes 3 bites. So it's not the eating a cake that disillusioned me. It was this. He takes 3 bites and then he was done, I guess. And so he just set it down on a counter in the kitchen, like off to the side, very random spot. And it was just like a half-eaten cake on a paper plate and a fork, a plastic fork. And it just stayed there. And no one walked away from it. He walked away from the scene of the crime. Okay. Is there anything wrong with what he did there? No, not technically. I mean, someone was going to clean up the kitchen. For sure not the other co-founder. For sure not the other co-founder is going to be fucking cleaning up this mess. Probably not, right? It's probably not going to be that guy. But I'll just say, the reason why I always loved their videos, and again, like I was saying, how I was always consuming their content at a level deeper than just getting my dick wet. I was really distilling all the universal principles and value I would find in the content. Anything that came off as surface level, I'd find my mind going deeper and deeper and deeper. So much of the value I derived from their content, not just their content, but Owen Cook's words himself, was all about integrity and consistency of character, and something I personally subscribe to when it comes to a level of consistency and integrity is closing the loop. And so if I'm to serve myself a slice of cake, and that's my slice of cake on my plate with my fork, and whether I finish it or not finish it, I don't care. It doesn't matter. At that point, I want to close the loop. I open the loop by initiating the action of getting the cake. And then I think that the healthiest, most mentally cleansing thing to do is to witness yourself close the loop. So what would be closing the loop at that point? Well, throw it in the garbage. I mean, it was all plastic cutlery, right? So just like pitch it in the garbage. We've opened the loop and now we've closed the loop. I find my pursuit of self-help, in my mind, it's often about where I recognize I've opened loops and the loops I've yet to close. And just always focusing on opening and closing, and literally in every area of life. Are you someone that when you're in your kitchen, you maybe open a cupboard and leave it open? You know, because those people are out there. I live with someone like that. We call her poltergeist. You know, me and her partner, we call her poltergeist because she like opens and then leaves things open. And I find it so fascinating because I'm not saying this judging her. It's not that. I find it fascinating because I could not. For me, the moment I open that cupboard and I take like the glass from it or whatever, then I must close it. The room looks insane with all these quote unquote open loops. Close the loop. And I see it with other people who, like clients I've worked with, who I've worked with closely, and I notice they'll be very mentally frazzled and unresolved and have a lot of questionable self-concepts and low self-esteem in some moments. And then I'll watch their behavior and I'll see, you have so many open loops in the most trivial way too. Like all of the cupboards are open. And I know you could be like, well, it's not that deep. It's just a bunch of cupboards. Yeah, no, but it's this quote. It's this quote. The way you do anything is the way you do everything. The more loops that you close in your life, the more I would imagine clarity you have. It's a clean slate. So when I felt the first break of disillusionment, the first like opening with Owen Cook, which is so appropriate, by the way. Like, how could I not? I need disillusionment. If I'm going to work with the guy, I have to be disillusioned, because working with him as a fan is not as productive. So disillusionment is the healthiest thing that could happen. So in a sense, I was actually I was looking for disillusionment because I knew that that's the only way. Like, if I'm going to become RSD Spencer, RSD Spenny, I can't be worshiping this guy to the way I was when I was young. I have to be disillusioned. So when he left the fucking cake and just walked away from the scene of the crime, I thought, ooh, it would have been so easy to just close that loop. So there are a few other behaviors like that I observed in Owen where I'm like, okay. He's really good. He's really consistent. I find like he seems to be larger than life in all the ways that he claims to be. But I also found some blind spots of where he wasn't always walking his talk. And again, to his credit, do we all want to be walking our talk all the time? I don't know. Some people would. Shout out to Brandon Carter. Brandon Carter, King Keto. I would place a bet that I think Brandon Carter is one of those people who's probably always walking his talk. But, as Brandon Carter says about himself too, like, he's simply fucking built different. Very few people are on that level. And I would agree, like, he's simply built different. So, all this to say, I started working with the marketing team in Vegas. Vlad was training me in person. We were like first thing we were working on was me just populating a spreadsheet. In retrospect, after I got my groove going and I actually was working in marketing properly, after that, it was funny to kind of look back and see the first task Vlad ever assigned to me was literally just a copy paste task. But that's what I needed. And that's where I say shout out to him, because as a mentor, he did really good incremental training. He really helped kind of baby step and handhold me in a way where I was actually progressing at an appropriate rate and finding my bearings, which was cool. And what definitely was going to keep me a part of the marketing team is because, it was just like different. It was a great team to be a part of. Like I was saying in the previous episode, Real Social Dynamics at a certain point, yeah, cool. It's a pickup artist company, sure. But in the time I joined that company, 2017, and I worked actively throughout 2018, and I left late 2019. Like that's the length of my career there. It felt like a long time, but that's it. It wasn't that long if I really think about it. Throughout that time, that's when RSD was peak. Oh yeah, I have to shit on Max. That's coming, bro. Don't worry, bro. It's coming. Cause you upset my girlfriend, you asshole. You upset my girlfriend, and you made fun of my cousin. Fuck you. So you made fun of my cousin. I'm loyal to my soil, bitch. The only person who gets to make fun of my cousin is me and my friends. Me and my friends, bitch. So RSD in that time was basically a marketing agency. It really was. We were not a pickup company. We were a marketing company. We were a machine. It was a machine. And I got to be a part of it when it was a machine, which is really cool. And it's shout out to people such as Max, who helped make it the machine that it was at that time, because he was the top instructor in my day. He was. And he deserves all the praise for being that guy. But like many successful people, a lot of successful people are characters. They're really unique. They have like really unique, they're characters, and they can be assholes, I guess. And so let's talk about how Max made my girlfriend upset. So this was funny. At the exact same time all of this was happening, I mentioned a few episodes ago that I think in the last episode, when I was recruited to work with them, I was just living my little humdrum life. I was in a grieving period because it was the month of November. So it was like my scheduled grieving period. I just got this tattoo. My girlfriend and my best friend were actually out touring in Europe. My girlfriend had this is my ex-girlfriend. This is Camellia. My girlfriend, I will say it present tense since it's a present tense storytelling. My girlfriend was in Europe or in Spain. She was walking the Camino Santiago, whatever. Like she was walking across Spain with her cousins, or I think that's when she was doing this. I think maybe not. Anyway, she was touring. She was also with, like, at some point she ran into my best friend Pi, and they became close friends in the process as well, of course, because this was like early days in our relationship. So it's early days in all of our relationships. And Pi and Camellia were in Rome together at the exact same time that I found out I just got the call. And Camelia, being the most supportive, amazing, loving witness in my life, she was always so understanding of what I cared about and what I wanted to do in my life. Such an amazing, supportive best friend and girlfriend. When I told her, you're not going to believe this, Nick called me, I'm going to Vegas. She was so like, she's a very sensitive person. Like, she was like crying for me. She was so happy. She was like seeing the clouds part in the sky, and she was just such a supportive person. She was so excited. She was so delighted. It was so amazing. And then a friend of mine who I knew through events as fans, who actually already had the job at RSD a few weeks before me, he caught wind that Camelia and Pi were in Rome, and he said, hey, why don't they go check out Max's hot seat? Because Max was running a hot seat in Rome. And this time, let me be clear, when I attended my hot seats, I paid. But what my friend was proposing was, why don't they just go check it out? Like, what do you have to lose? And then my friend said, they're women, so they can attend for free. I presented that this is a rule that the company engaged with. The women can attend events for free. So Camelia and Pi went to Max's hot seat for free. This is after Camelia knows that I've been recruited for RSD. So get this, Max, fucking Max, bro. Listen, Max, because get this, I know right now you're engaged. Congratulations, by the way. I've always loved your fiance. I've always loved her. She's so sweet. Treat her well, obviously, because I think she might be too sweet for you, but that's okay, because you seem to do great to her. I'm imagining you're going to have babies. Amazing, Max. Have those babies. You're going to have babies. Congratulations. It's going to be so exciting. But if you have daughters, get your head in the fucking game, bitch. Wake the fuck up. Wake the fuck up, okay? Wake the fuck. This is where I'm like, Julian's a girl dad. Julian must be doing way better. Go talk to Julian. Go talk to your big brother, Julian, and get his parenting advice. Because I don't know, but I'm very confident Julian's probably raising his daughters very, very well. I have a gut feeling about it. So Camelia and Pi go to the Rome hot seat, the fearless hot seat that Max was doing at the time. He was still on his brand of fearless. So it's like the approach anxiety buster, fearless, you know. Max is so cool. Max is so compelling. He's a great public speaker. He's a hard worker. Like, of course I'm shitting on him, but he is all of those things at the same time too. He's a nuance of thought. And Camelia tells me she's there at the event sitting. She's literally got tears in her eyes practically the whole time, because Max is very inspiring. He was saying whatever the fuck he was saying, I don't know, but like, I'm sure it was like a rah-rah, like motivational thing. And I'm sure it was like, it really moved Camelia. She was feeling so motivated by everything. She was feeling so connected. She was so happy for me. I was probably on the flight to Vegas at this time. And Camelia being the sweet, you never fuck with Camelia. I know, to this day, bitch, by the way, like, she's my ex-girlfriend. Don't you ever fuck with Camelia. I'm coming for you. I don't care who you are. So, never. So she's feeling so grateful and so tuned in and so like in the momentum with me as my partner, because she's like, they're participating in this thing that was not my idea. It was not her idea either. It was someone else's. It was my friend's idea. He was just throwing them a bone. Like, you're in Rome anyways, go check out the Max hot seat. Might as well. It was totally my friend's idea, which is so cool of him. And they got to attend for free, which, like, it's no loss on anyone. If anything, it should add value to the environment. The only way I think a female presence can take away from the environment in those instances is if it makes the other men feel uncomfortable, which is valid and fair. If the presence makes the other men feel restricted, or like they need to perform or repress themselves, or they can't be as honest, that's where I could see, okay, maybe we should step the fuck away, right? Like, this is for the men to like feel their feelings. I agree with that. But I want to give credit to my friends, my people. They're me. They're an extension of me. So they're not like, okay, they might get in a man's head, but at the end of the day, they mean well and they come in peace. And like, Camelia's an older sister to the little brothers. Like, we care about these guys, you know? And so there's Camelia with tears in her eyes, feeling grateful. Max wraps up his event. Camelia, listen up, guys. Listen up, everyone. Are we all listening? Max's daughters. Okay, don't worry. I'm sure your dad, if this is the future listening, I'm sure your father's doing great. Okay? We all learn. We're all young and dumb at some point. Camelia goes up to him, so genuine, so pure, so much love, because that's how she is. Tears in her eyes, to approach him, to ask for, hug him, or like say thank you. I don't know. Probably Max doesn't want to be touched. Fair enough. But like, to say thank you, to just say like, thank you so much. Like, this was so amazing. Because whatever he was saying was really inspiring. And it was all about like going after your dreams and doing it. And there's Camellia thinking about the love of her life and how I just like got this opportunity to be on this level. And so she's really just like such an honest witness. She's really feeling it. And she really, the most earnest way, like approached Max with like wanting to do nothing. Max, listen, idiot. I'm mad. I'm still mad. And this was like 20 years ago. Not even, but almost. She wanted to do nothing but take that love and gratitude she was feeling and just tell you, thank you. Thank you for letting me in this space. Like, thank you for everything. This was really powerful. Okay. She approaches him to say this. And you know what Max says to my girlfriend? He says, no, and by the way, he didn't know this was my girlfriend. He didn't know me, but like still it happened. He says, oh yeah, I know. And, yeah, girls always get to attend for free. And that was it. So Camellia told me this. She felt so like shut down. Okay. I know. I built it up. What, are you mad that I'm mad at Max? Are you mad that I'm mad at Max because, that's all it was in the end? No, too bad. Fuck you. Because I know my girlfriend, my ex-girlfriend, I know her heart. I know her purity of intentions, and I know the depths of her feelings. And if she's coming up to you saying, thank you, dude, you had the universe in front of you, siphoning love and offering it to you on a platter. Like, that was your chance. Max, a couple of years later, you went to to go drink ayahuasca like a fucking loser. Max, you went to go drink ayahuasca. Oh, you went to go drink. Yeah, I'm really stunting on Max. Ooh, it's all coming out. This is cheaper than therapy. Sue me. I don't give a fuck. This isn't even one of the people I'm scared of. I'm just trolling because at the end of the day, Max is going to be fine. He's the king of AI, bitch. Like, it's fine. He's a millionaire. I'm not. I'm far from it. So he's winning. It's all good. I'm a loser. He's winning. So let me fucking be a loser and rant about it. Max, you had the chance. You had to go all the way to the jungle to drink ayahuasca and be a little buffoon in your little ayahuasca phase when you actually have had probably so many countless opportunities of the universe and feminine energy coming up to you just to say, hey, I see you. You're doing great. And you had to be so stubborn with your tight butthole fucking Austrian energy to be like, well, girls always get to attend for free. Like, shut the fuck up, bitch. God. Yeah, put me on the blacklist. I never want to work with you. Fuck you. But I got that out of my system. So you're free now, Max. That's all I had to say. Fuck you for that. And you made fun of my cousin. I heard gossip travels fast. Don't you dare fuck with my fucking cousin. Fuck you. Only I get to fuck with my fucking cousin. Okay? Those are my people. I protect them. I love them. Now we all know. It's all out there in the open. I got nothing to hide. So, and regardless of that, I know Camellia and Pie had a great time, but you that upset my girlfriend. Not cool. It doesn't matter though. I wasn't going to make a thing out of it because I'm starting my job, and in the marketing team, which was so cool. One of my favorite parts of the marketing team is I got to work with the instructors. These are the influencers, the actual YouTubers, the actual pickup artists who are making content. Or, you know, to be fair to Julian, and the time I joined, he was nowhere near, he was far beyond his pickup persona. He was already deep in transformation mastery, doing all that stuff, which was also great because I got to work with Julian on that. And Julian was probably one of my favorite people to work with. I don't know if I should name everyone because I'm not always going to be so enthusiastic. But I mentioned that there are two people I actually care about. Julian's one of them, and then there's another. I haven't named the other one yet because it's kind of fun. It's like, oh, you guys don't know. Who is it? Who is it that I'm willing to protect? We don't know. We don't know. Who is it not? Ooh, I don't know. Yeah, this is the podcast without having notes. I'm a little disorganized here. But, so I had the cheaper than therapy rant where I got to tell Max, fuck you. You know, I hope that this podcast, what I'm going to do is like upload the episodes on YouTube also. And I hope that through the grapevine, somehow this gets back to Max, just so you could sit with it. And then when you raise your daughters and you like love your wife or like who will become your wife, you're going to be a good man this time. You're going to be a good man. You're going to put yourself in your place and you're going to consider like, how are you empowering feelings in other people? Stop being such a little selfish asshole. And granted, this was 2017, so I'm sure you've changed. Have you changed for the better? Let's hope so. Don't fuck with my fucking cousin. Fuck you. Or my girlfriend. So I got to work with instructors every single Tuesday. And this also was the benefit of working in the marketing team. At the end of the day, I was not going to be able to be a video editor and live in Canada. So the only way I could really work remotely was through marketing because we didn't really need to be in person for that. It was always so fun over the 2-ish years that I worked there to be able to go to the summits, Miami in February and Vegas in August, and actually connect with everyone, the whole team. Like, it was some of the highlights, the peak experiences of the year, to actually be at those events. I mean, as I said in one of the previous episodes, be there because I was asked to be there. Be there because someone bought my flight to be there. Be there because I'm working. Be there because I'm offering value. Be there because I'm helping to facilitate the container of the event. That shit was so fun, so validating. And working with instructors on Skype calls, because back then we were on Skype the most, actually entirely and exclusively, it was all Skype. Every Tuesday, instructor calls, spoke to all of them. Actually, let's name them without sharing my opinions. Let's name them. We did calls with Max, I think, was the first one because he was in Europe, so the time zone thing, he was like the first one. It was Max, Julian, this is not in order anymore, but approximately like Max, Julian, Jeffy, Madison, Luke, and Tyler. That was it. Right, that was it. I think when I joined, Todd was on his way. Todd was gone. The names I'm saying are not for the outsiders listening. It's for the insiders who already know. Todd was gone. Ozzy was gone, and that's it. So those were the instructors we worked with, and every Tuesday was such a fun fucking day at work because I got to spend my whole day on these calls, taking notes and tracking like the projects for all of these different instructor projects and making sure that on the marketing end of things, all the ducks were in a row. And hence why RSD Central, it was less like we are a pickup company. It was more like we are a media production company, or we are a marketing agency is what we were. We're a marketing company because we simply have these influencers that work with us in a 50-50 partnership or whatever it's going to be, in order to get the resources that we have of like building sales pages, building funnels, and then the instructor can just focus on producing their content or making their programs, right? So it was really interesting to do that. In my time working there, I also want to say, Julian was someone who was rarely on calls on Tuesdays, really rarely. And I don't know why that is, other than I think he didn't have much going on work-wise. As in, he really didn't. Like, Transformation Mastery was already flowing. It was already happening. He wasn't launching anything new yet. Eventually, he would do Transformation Mastery Academy, which was a 12-month, it was like a subscription model, and it was an active community. And that was cool. I got to be a part of that, which is so fun. But before all that, Julian, for a while when I joined, he was rarely on his instructor call. He would skip it, which sometimes they would do. Luke would also skip it a lot because Luke kind of wasn't really doing anything much. Tyler only ever attended an instructor call like 3 times in my entire career. But granted, Tyler, he was less of an instructor, more of like the founder. So he had other channels of staying on task. Otherwise, Madison was always on his calls. Jeff almost always on his calls. And Max pretty much almost always on his calls, as long as there was something to do. Because again, credit to Max, he doesn't fuck around, right? If there's nothing to get done, if there's nothing to do, if there's no agenda items, fuck off. Fair enough. But usually Max, since he was the most powerful brand at the time, those calls were very important. We couldn't fuck around on a Max call. On a Max call, Max had the most power as a brand. And so that's why he could get away with having a diva attitude. He could get away with being that guy because he essentially was like funding so much of, like, he paid me. You know what, Max? I shouldn't have been so hard on you. If I really think about it, once I was finally on payroll, who knows? Let's be honest. It was you paying me. Like, you were making the money, you know? Everyone else was making money too, but you were making the money. So shout out. Sorry. Just kidding. I think we're all even here. I just had to get that off my chest because honestly, how dare you? You upset my girlfriend, bro. Don't do that. I'm so petty. So petty. And yeah, no, these calls were awesome. Julian was rarely on them. Julian was like on a path to becoming married and becoming a father and all this and that. So I think he was more focused on that aspect of his life. And he's very low key as a person, which is also why I'm reluctant every time I say his name, because I'm not trying to like blow up Julian's life. But he is very much a public facing figure now in present day, where this company no longer exists. RSD does not exist. Everyone's doing their own thing. Julian and his transformation self-help work, like he's got like over 1 million followers on Instagram. He's crushing it with his reels. He's really connecting with people. I'm really happy to see Julian's evolution. I'm really happy for him. I hope he's doing well. I have nothing bad to say about Julian. He was always so kind to work with. And you know what was so funny? I remember Julian made me feel really good. He didn't say this to me directly, but anytime Julian did have a request on a Skype channel or whatever, it's like I get a jolt of adrenaline because I took him really seriously. I felt like, damn, like, I think also something about Julian being a little elusive because he was rarely on the instructor calls. Like when he was chiming in with a project update of some sort or like a request, it felt a little more, oh shit, like the man's asking for something, you know, almost in a sense. I want to give Julian credit. He in a way felt more polarizing than Max, even though Max was the top instructor at the time, pulling in the biggest numbers, Max having the biggest brand power. He was that guy, undisputed. In a sense, because Julian is Julian, he just, no matter what, when Julian had a question or when Julian sent a message on Skype, like, I'm sorry, I just had way more of like a flare up of like, oh, okay, what does Julian want? What's going on? Just because he was like a pleasure to work with. So that's usually how it goes, right? Now, this is a lesson for everyone. This is a lesson for everyone that you never know that there's going to be a girl ranting in her voice notes app on her fucking ghetto ass iPhone 12 in a car about these guys just to say, hey, like the way you treat people, it really matters because you never know who's going to run their mouth about it. You always have to watch out. And yet I think I'm being fair. And also I want to be fair to Max that he was also one of the sweetest people that eventually, I know I'm fast forwarding here a little bit, but just to close the Max loop, because after this, I don't need to like talk about him in this light. That's not kind. I really like Max's girlfriend. She's so sweet. Sorry, sweetheart. I didn't mean to do this to your man, but maybe you laughed about it if you're listening. Like maybe this was healing for you. It's like he's your boyfriend. Oh my God, I can't imagine. I mean, he's your fiance husband now, I guess. So Max was so sweet that on my way out when I left, like when I was like, I guess I gave my 2 weeks notice to the company eventually in 2019, Max sent me a really nice message, which was nice. Like he was just like, hey, it was always a pleasure to work with you, whatever. That's cool, bro. Thank you for that. You know, it doesn't like change the way I just had to get that out of my system. I just want to say, in terms of overall optics and overall karma, I think that these guys were overall really good and like such a pleasure to work with. And for me to have the work experience of working with big personalities and big divas with big demands and big requests and high pressure and like people getting mad that the results aren't being what they should be, this is really important for someone like me who's learning marketing, because it shouldn't be such a walk in the park. It is stressful to be a marketer. It is stressful to produce results. It is stressful to run all these projects forward. And I really enjoyed the stress, right? If you've been listening to this entire podcast, Shua, like every episode up until now, you would know that in episode 3, I discussed like the work ethic and then the work burnout that eventually happened. And in that work burnout, you know, it's interesting because I was once so addicted to the stress and the hustle of working like that. I loved hustle culture. It was all of me. And then I got hit by a car and I hit my head and I felt stress and I felt all these things that like I never quite felt before. And now I'm a lot softer. Like I do love when I'm in a workflow. I do love offering value, but my nervous system is different. I'm not anti-work, but I'm basically anti the wrong work. If in any way I ever feel like I'm supporting a project that is evil or supporting evil intentions, and you know, the distinction of what is evil can be really, if I see like a person in leadership be unkind to a subordinate in a way that is like unfair, I'm done. Just like that, I'm done. I won't tolerate it. And it's not that I'm like so sensitive or so fragile. It's just something's changed in me. Something's changed in me where I'm like, fuck that. I believe if we're going to be leaders, if we're going to be true leaders, there's a way to lead with compassion and care. And, you know, I want to give credit to Vlad. My marketing mentor, because he was, first of all, out of everyone I'm naming, I want to be really clear. In all that time I was working there, my world became less about RSD and more about Vlad, because not only was I in the marketing team, I was also Vlad's executive assistant. So I was always talking to Vlad. I don't even think I went a day never talking to Vlad during that time. You know, it was always me and him. Like we spent so much time together. And as a leader, he was all of that. I introduced that he has that kind of spectrum of communication where he'd be really serious, really clinical, really like downturn, but he could also be like really silly, really jovial, really like happy and excited, like a little puppy or like a boy. Vlad as a leader was really good at empowering me with tools to like get shit done, tools of perspective. And when I would fuck up, Okay, fine. 90% of the time, Vlad was an excellent leader, and 10% of the time, I think sometimes his little ego or personality got in the way, and like control aspects of being like a controlling person got in the way and disrupted my peace, because I felt like, oh, he's not being a leader, he's being manipulative. But 90% of the time, Vlad was a great leader, and even when I would fuck up as a great leader, he would conduct himself in a way where he was firm and he was clear, and he made sure that like I maybe understood whatever the nature of the fuck up was or the consequences are. And when he saw that I understood, that's it. That's it. Now it's just about moving forward and putting out the fires, or stopping the bleeding, solving whatever the problem is. And that to me is like an appropriate way to run leadership. So this is what I mean by after my burnout that I discuss thoroughly in episode 3 of this podcast, Show Ahora. After my burnout, I suddenly no longer felt any kind of tolerance for, what I'm basically discussing is Vlad's 10% there. Whereas like sometimes instead of leadership, I noticed he was actually just kind of being manipulative in a way that was unfair and unkind. Well, after the burnout I felt in my later 20s, that's kind of where I'm at now. Where if I'm employed somewhere, if I'm working on a project with someone and I see any indication of being a slimy, manipulative, snaky person, my tolerance or my appetite for this, it's slim to none. I just won't do it. And I think there's something about having confronted those existential moments of like getting hit by a car or whatever, where life is so short, my energy is so precious. I'm not trying to be a naysayer and be a little pussy about like the hustle, but I am saying that my life is too short to like tolerate some little men being bullies. I won't do it. Especially when I'm the true bully. Have you heard me? Have you been listening to this whole podcast? I'm the real bully here. I'm the real bully. If anyone's going to be a manipulative fucking bully bitch, it better be me. It's my turn now. Just kidding, guys. Just kidding. I love leadership. I love love, but I also love setting the record straight. And, it's the new year. At the time I'm recording this, I'm all about just, I got to clean this slate so I can move on and build my life. And, all this to say, now, I think I've covered most of like what it kind of looked like working in marketing. Oh yeah, I wanted to give Julian credit. There was a time that he made me laugh when we were working on Transformation Mastery Academy. And like I said, every time Julian would have a message or something in the group chat, I was always feeling like, how can we be of service? Julian just had that command to me. Because he was always so kind, so fair. Like he was really good leader is the vibe I got. That's the vibe I got with the version of Julian I worked with. That's the vibe I got. And, one day we were working on the Transformation Mastery Academy launch, and one of the dudes on our marketing team fucked up. We all fuck up at times, but he fucked up pretty bad. Everything was okay. We solved whatever the fuck up was in the end. It was such a like fun, inspiring, and stressful launch. It was fucking cool. But this fuck up almost messed up everything. And Julian was pissed, which is fair because that's so fair. The fuck up was like unfounded, and it was a reflection of our disorganization and mismanagement as a team, frankly. And after Julian, what I thought was so funny is he said to a select group of us in the marketing team, and I got to be in that group. He said, okay, when it comes to my brand, I don't want, he said, no, sorry, this is funny. I am putting words in Julian's mouth. This is alleged what I'm saying, but it's funny as fuck. Julian said, no beta cucks working on my brand anymore. And he like whoever he had included in this conversation, he was basically saying like, only these people do I trust working on my brand. And I got to be a part of that. Thanks, Julian. That made me laugh so much. And also I was so understanding of it because that the fuck ups that were happening were unacceptable. And I understood like Julian was someone who takes himself really seriously, and he only wanted people to work with him who also take themselves just as seriously. Because that's kind of what it is to work in a productive way in like the marketing, working as a marketer and supporting an influencer brand. It's recognizing that like the influencer brand, the influencer themselves takes their shit so seriously. This is their everything. It's their life. It's their everything. And so if you're going to be a marketer supporting that everything, you want to have the exact same level of buy-in. Which is why since my own burnout, when I've sometimes helped people through marketing, because I've had a few marketing opportunities, a few gigs. First of all, I'm so turned off by it. I'm not a marketer. The only person I want to do marketing for is myself personally, which makes sense. But the other thing is I would actually basically quit every little gig I ever had in the aftermath of my burnout because I could feel like, I just don't care. And that's not good for my clients, you know? And usually in these instances, my clients were my friends. So it's even worse because I love you guys. I love you. And this, your brand, your business, it's your life. It's your life. And I love you. Your life means so much to me, but I can tell that me as a marketer, I don't belong in your life like that. I'm not loving your brand the way you're loving your brand. It's not that I don't love your brand. It's just about like how much energy I want to put into yours versus my own. And that's kind of where I'm at recording this podcast, working on my own projects. It's recognizing I've really lost a sense of where to focus myself in the later part of my 20s because I was trying to stay subscribed to old patterns of behavior. Old patterns such as, oh, I'm a marketer, right? So I better do marketing, but that's just no longer true because if I'm going to do marketing for anyone, I notice the only person I should really be doing it for is for myself, as in amplifying my messaging because this is my life. This is my brand. This is the blood in my veins. And I believe I have something good to say to the world. I believe I have value to offer. And so it's a shame to not focus on that while I'm here. And I think that's why in the later part of my 20s, I was always so kind of discombobulated figuring out, like, what am I doing? Should I be a marketer? Should I do that? Should I do that? No, I shouldn't. No, I shouldn't. Because even when I was doing marketing with RSD, like as much as it was a great experience and I got a lot of experience and aspects of me are aligned with being a marketer, aspects of me. As much as all of that is true, at the end of the day, circle back to my intentions with the company. I just wanted to scale. I wanted to build myself into being the first front-facing brand, like first female instructor on the team. I wanted to be RSD Spenny or RSD Spencer, which is where now we can pivot. Well, okay, it's two things because I know I'm going to need to do at least one more episode after this. I'm now going to pivot to a plot change that happened in the company in the year 2019. Actually, I think it started to happen in late 2018, to be honest. Yeah, 2018. So I always wanted to be the first. You know what? It doesn't need to be the first, technically, but that was always my goal, right? I wanted to be RSD Spenny, RSD Spencer. Now, what's my weakness in this game? Well, I had a lot of limiting belief. I didn't totally understand how I could fit into the pickup thing. I didn't have the vision yet. I think I have the vision now, but hindsight's 2020, right? And I also always played such a slow, soft game. I mean, look at how I was hired by the company. I never applied, ever. I never applied. I was recruited. Sure, I played all kinds of my cards forward. I played all kinds of like making sure people were aware of me. It was like an awareness campaign, just like a marketer would do, but it's a very slow game. And so there I am working in marketing. You know, at what point am I going to say to someone explicitly, hey, by the way, you know, I do actually want to be RSD Spencer, RSD Spenny. I mean, part of why I wasn't saying that is because I actually got really into the marketing game itself. I started to love that role. It started to feel cool. It started to feel really cool. And I think because I was starting to also see and feel degrees of disillusionment across the board, maybe I became a little less motivated to be a front-facing figure, but the dream was always still kind of there. So shout out to somebody who I guess I'm going to name, because even if I didn't name her, it's pretty easy to find her. She was the only other one. I want to say shout out because I think the way I'm going to discuss RSD Sarah. Hey girl. She's, not a friend of mine or anything, but I fully come in peace. The way I'm going to discuss RSD Sarah, if I have anything that sounds negative or critical to say of her, please, my listener, let it only be a reflection of my ego, my insecurities, and my judgments. I am not here to participate in like female women rivalry or whatever. I don't want to play that song and dance. And also, this shit was years ago. And when I think of a girl or a woman, when I think of a woman like Sarah, I think, like, I don't know what she's up to nowadays, but all I want for her is to be fucking winning, obviously. Just like I want to be winning. So I super duper come in peace, but we have to understand that my ego was really hurt because in 2018, at some point, I had been doing the marketing and all this and that, and like finding my bearings, finding my ground, like really like, you know, getting better and better every passing week or every passing month, every passing project. And at some point there was a girl that came on the scene. And so now if it's 2018, I would have been 23. You know what? No, I would have been, 23, 24-ish. And Sarah herself was also pretty much my age. In fact, she's a year younger than me is what I know. So basically my age, because we're just two girls in our young 20s. She's from Australia. She's really sweet, very pretty, very kind, fun. You know, like a lot of Australians tend to be. This is a generalization, but a lot of Australians tend to be like very, very outgoing, very charismatic. And Sarah was someone who, you know, not to like speak on her behalf, but I know a little bit of her story because I did like know her a little bit when we were working together. She was dating someone. So she's a straight, well, again, I shouldn't put words in her mouth. She might be a little queer, bisexual, but largely I think I identified her as like a straight woman from Australia who had a boyfriend. So she was in a relationship with this guy who would watch RSD videos, real social dynamics videos all the time. And so she was really aware of the company. She was really aware of RSD because of her boyfriend at the time. Like he was always apparently he was always watching this stuff. And so she knew about it. She knew all about it. And then one day, as I think this story goes, sorry if I'm misrepresenting the story, but this is how I remember it. Sarah, I think, maybe on her boyfriend's computer or something, opened up a file. There was like a video of her boyfriend cheating on her. And it was like filmed, I think. And of course that's horrible and that's disgusting. And I'm sorry that happened to her. And they broke up. And shout out to Sarah in her alchemizing healing journey, I guess. She got on a flight to Los Angeles. What a gangster. What a G, you know? Like, she's like, fuck this, you fucking loser. Cheating on me, fuck you. Like, I'm probably speed running her story. I'm sure there's a lot more to that. But she basically went to go do her, like, hot girl grind of, like, going to Hollywood, baby. It's Hollywood. And she had the sense to, now I'm definitely going to make Owen not sound so great here, but he is a pickup artist. He's an opportunist in that sense. She comes to LA and she has the thought to send a DM to Owen Cook, RSD Tyler at the time on Instagram, to say like, oh, hey, like, I don't know what she says exactly, but she basically like said hello to say like, hey, I watch your videos. Like, I know your stuff. And I'm like in town, like whatever. She was networking. Okay. She was networking. Power to her, networking. And Owen decides to meet up with her in town, like in LA somewhere, probably over like a smoothie or some lame ass shit. And Owen at the time in 2018, he had a full-time manager because Owen, the thing about him, and just to be clear to my outsider listener, if you are a little lost, I've been for the most episodes discussing this character, Tyler. They are the same person. It's just that in the beginning of the story, I was talking about early days Tyler, and so that's how I see him. In this part of the story, I'm the version of Spencer who is already in her process of disillusionment. And so I'm seeing Owen as a mortal. Like, he's a mere mortal now. So he's Owen. He's Owen. It's all good. Like, there's nothing wrong with Owen. It's just that he's a mortal. So he is not perfect. He is a mortal. He's a mere mortal. And he had a full-time manager, one of my buddies in LA, because he needed it, because Owen like would often be late to meetings. Owen would always be on the brink of missing flights. Like, he basically needed a babysitter at all times. Like, that's kind of how he was. And the way I could rationalize this for Owen is, well, he is one of those exceptional people. Just like I was saying, Max is one of those people too. Like, they are like a special degree of being unique and special. They're extra special. And so God forbid Owen is so busy thinking about the grand scheme of the universe at play and social dynamics. And so he's not quite good at showing up to a meeting on time or like making his flight. You know, it's like, it's the practical matters of life that just don't suit him. But somehow these big sweeping abstract thought processes that he's capable of engaging in for hours and hours and hours and like speaking all of it. He's just good at that. Like he's like a master. He's like a master of these few things he's a master of, but he's like a fucking doofus and everything else is kind of how I saw it. And so he had a full-time manager. And so his full-time manager was driving Owen down into town to go meet Sarah, this girl who at this time is no one to the company. She was no one. And okay, what I'm about to say is simply my opinion or recollection of an event and is not verified fact. And because it's not, it's word of mouth. And I was told that on the drive, Owen was basically ranting and talking a big game about how like, oh yeah, you know, this girl, she just DM me. I'm just going to go meet her, probably going to fuck her, whatever, like big game. Well, it's none of my business who anyone had sex with. And I actually don't think that those people had sex, but it's none of my business. What actually ended up happening though, is they met. And I think that somehow, not somehow, I'm led to believe probably Sarah just did the things I never thought to do. She probably spoke with intent, which is like a tenet of being a pickup artist. So, you know, power to her. She probably spoke with intent about like what her intentions were and how like I love the content. Like this stuff is so inspiring, you know, and probably maybe even express that like this is something she could see herself doing or wanting to do. And so rather than hooking up, no one fucked anyone in that instance. Sarah actually got on the radar of the instructors. And I was busy working, you know, as a marketer, but after a couple of weeks, I kind of caught wind of this name, Sarah, whatever. And in the upcoming Vegas summit of that year, and I'm pretty sure given the timeline that 2018 would have been my first Vegas summit. Oh yeah, it for sure was. 2018 would have been my first Vegas summit. So that's the big event that they did annually where every instructor flew in. It's such a big crowd. It's like hundreds of people. And so it's the first year, the whole year has elapsed since the previous Vegas summit where I was actually attending as a fan. I had the opportunity to be there before I was hired. And I said to myself in my head, the next time I come to one of these events, it's because I'm asked to. And so, of course, that was the case. Like I was asked. I had already been earlier that year in 2018, been to the Miami summit in February. And now I'm at the Vegas summit. I'm back at the Vegas summit, but I'm back a part of the team, just like I manifested for myself, right? Like this I manifested. This I manifested somehow. And I remember initially, because the company pays for the flights and the company pays for the hotel. Initially, when I saw the spreadsheet with like who was sleeping where and like with who, I know that I was in a room with like one of the guys, which I love personally. I've shared rooms, like I've shared hotels with the guys before. These are my friends for the most part. For the most part, these were my friends. For the most part, these were like more than my friends. These were like my cult brothers. We're in the cult together. These are my friends. I feel comfortable with them. I don't feel unsafe around them. I'm not saying out of all the guys I worked with that I loved all of them. Some of them, there's a degree of like tolerating, but that's how all jobs are, you know? But some of these guys I really loved. I remember at the Miami summit, I shared a hotel with like two of the boys and we had so much fun. It was so cool. It was so fun. You know, it was so fun. And, I saw that initially I was sharing a room with someone, but then when the spreadsheet was updated, I saw Spencer's in a room with Sarah. And I'm like, oh, who the fuck is that? You know, like, I think I've seen her name around. Like somehow this name's been showing up. It's like word of mouth at this point. And so Nick, I think, it's funny how she must have messaged Owen first, but in the end it was Nick who I think took a really strong liking to Sarah, which, you know, shout out to Nick. I think he really likes his blonde women. I'm not saying that Nick was recruiting Sarah because he liked her. I just mean, I think same with me too. You know, like I think Nick, he has a vision and he has a really good vision because obviously what I'm going to spoil here is Sarah became what I wanted to be, which is the first female instructor with a public facing brand. And I want to credit Nick's vision and Sarah's work because she had a really successful brand for a while. She really did. So the results were there. But yeah, I'm sharing a hotel room with Sarah and, you know, it's funny. This is very personal, but I almost have like a bias against Australians because there was a time when I was 20 when I lived in staff housing with some Australians. And it was like oddly traumatizing. It was some of the worst roommate experience I've ever had in my life. It was oddly traumatizing. And it's not because these people were Australian, but just imagine that like the experience of the bad living situation is also associated with like that voice, that accent. So of course I'm also entering this hotel room with my guard up, because now I'm not hanging out with one of the guys, one of my friends. This makes me sound super pick me. I'm sorry. It's not meant to sound that, but obviously I'm noticing as I'm saying, I'm like, I kind of sound a little pick me. Like, I'm not in one of the room with one of the boys. Oh, I'm not one of the boys. I have to be with the girl. Okay, I don't mean it like that, even though I realize it can sound like that. I just mean like I was not feeling safe with her, because I'm like, damn, this girl's actually, she's on her fucking game. I'm not. She's on her game. So we're sharing a hotel room, you know, like double bed type of situation. And I'm getting to know her, and I'm realizing like, okay, like she's being groomed to be the next instructor. And what was cool about that Vegas summit actually, and this is if you go look at my Instagram, this has been highlighted in my Instagram for years. My @ is Social Dynamics Nerd. I just changed it. Shout out to me. Social Dynamics Nerd on Instagram. My name is Spencer. If you see the very, not the first highlight, but the highlight that's titled, the story highlight titled Attraction, there's a clip of me on stage, and there's a blonde girl there in the like back, like next to me, sharing that stage. And then an Asian guy behind us is Nick Ko. And so if you watch that clip, you'll see like that was that event. Basically, Sarah was sort of like being groomed to be on stage. And the cool thing about, being groomed to be an instructor. The cool thing about Summit is that the most important talking slots of Summit are obviously the instructor brands, duh. And then the final day, the instructor panel, when everyone's all together. But there are little openings because it's such a big event over the course of like 3 days minimum. And so there was an opening on the stage, and we were asked, the both of us, but I'm pretty sure Sarah was asked first. Okay. Me. I hope if Max and his GF are listening to this, and if you didn't like the things I was saying, at least now I'm going to finish the episode with my insecurities. Okay. It's okay. Me too. I get to be punished. Okay. So we were asked to go on stage for a little bit. And for me, I'm like, yes, dream come true. This is actually so fun. Go check out that speech, like the little highlight. It's me speaking, not Sarah. We were on the stage together. It was such a flow state. For me, it was the dream come true, because I got to, you know what? For me, I have to admit, as someone who had the lifelong goal, or like the years-long goal of being RSD Spencer, having that moment, at least I can say in a sense, I achieved that goal, that one instance on stage, because that was such a flow state. I was so on fire. There was actually quite a few bodies in the audience. Like it was a pretty full, like it wasn't a full audience the way Max can pull in a full audience, but there were, I guess the guys were curious about the two girls on stage, you know, because there were like easily 60 people in the audience, if not more, quite a lot. And I was so in the flow. I felt so locked in. I was so quick. I was so on top of it. It was really inspiring to be in, because I felt like this is it. I'm being RSD Spenny. Like I lived my dream. It just happened right now, basically. And I'm sharing that stage with Sarah. And unfortunately, I was at the time in a somewhat competitive headspace, because I'm also reading her and seeing like when she would take the mic at the time, please. Again, I want to be so much credit to Sarah. She deserves her flowers. But at the time, it was her first time on stage. So she's new. It was her first time. It was our first time together, I'm pretty sure. And when we would pass the microphone back and forth and Sarah would speak, at the time being her first time on stage, I found her to be a little disorganized. Like I shouldn't be speaking with this podcast, but I'm in my flow state. This is for me. This is my echo chamber. But on the stage, when like we're handling Q&A, we're like giving quote unquote dating advice, if you will. And Sarah was so disorganized in her responses. And in my head, I'm thinking like Nick watching us, I'm thinking like, you must see that I'm like in that moment, just that moment. If it's a competition, in my mind, I'm thinking, isn't it obvious that I'm like a little bit more inclined for this role, you know, which also just makes a lot of sense, because if you also look at our history, Sarah was like casually aware of the RSD stuff by proxy of her boyfriend. I was fanatically aware of RSD stuff since I was RSD specifically since I was 16, 17. Pickup since I was 15. Like, it's a very different background. Like, my perspective of the whole thing was very like deep in my mind. And so I think that's why when I'm holding the microphone in my flow state, it's coming out it's coming out very naturally because I haven't rehearsed. Like, and it's not that I was not rehearsing. I was fully spontaneous, but imagine, like, you don't think I've probably stood when I was a teenager, like stood in front of an imaginary audience or in front of the mirror and imagine myself on stage being an instructor, like delivering content. It's sort of like I've practiced for this moment. Like, this is my moment. And I'm thinking with Nick watching, everyone watching, like, the stakes are high. And, believe it or not, under pressure, I tend to perform well under pressure. And so that was the pressure of like, it's do or die. It's now or never, because this girl's about to take my dream. She's about to take my dream. And it's not like, oh, how dare she? It's my fault. I didn't push my dream forward. Which, by the way, thank God. I am so glad in retrospect I never got to be RSD, Spenny, or Spencer. Thank the fucking Lord. I don't want that on my reputation, on my record. No, thank you. I was already close enough. It's too close. But, I'm seeing it as like, it's now. And so I think that's why that time on stage, I was so on fire, because I just knew, like, this is it. If there's ever a time to shine, it's right now. And there was pretty much no payoff to this, because basically after the speech, which was awesome and it felt amazing, I felt so good. Like, it was a win in itself for me, and it should be a win for Sarah, because it was like her first time doing that at the time, and I'm happy we did it together, But sadly, my lens of it was kind of like, girl, you don't have what I have. At that time, I was thinking that, how dare I, right? Because she would end up taking all of, she would win in the end. So how dare I? And you know what? Right after the speech, I went to go sit in the back, like outside of the venue. There were tables set up, and I went to go join my mentor, my marketing mentor, my true direct report, the true person that I worked with the most. I sat next to Vlad, and we worked on stuff together. And Nick, who, he's really go, go, go. Nick is the type of guy to say to Max, when he's making Max an instructor, he says, Max asks, when do I start? And Nick says, right now, go find 3 people. He's like that. Or like when Nick called me and he's like, I want you to work for the company. You're going to come to Las Vegas. Can you come tomorrow? I'm like, okay, Nick, no. Like, I love your attitude, Nick. Like, get it done, right? I love your attitude, but no, of course not. I'm not coming tomorrow. Thank you, but no. So Vlad and I are sitting after I did the speech with Sarah. We're at our computers. Like I said, RSD is basically like a production company at the time. Like, we are the entity. We are a marketing machine is what we are. And sorry, fuck. I'm going to bleep that. Vlad, fuck, now I have to actually do work and edit. Damn it. Vlad, damn it. Quick interruption here. This is editing Spencer, who needed to edit this episode anyways because I said a name when I should have said not that name. And let me just interrupt anyways. I retract my statements about set Nick Coe freely into the world as long as he's not going to do harm unto others. Because I just saw him post the fucking flag of Israel, and let me just draw a line in the sand and say I do not align with Zionism at all. So these episodes are still valid in every other sense. This is just me saying I express a lot of kind of like neutrality and respect with Nick in my retelling of the stories, but I was not privy to this angle, and yet when I see this, it's like, you dummies, you fucking idiots, you're all going down. Vlad is the CMO, and so Vlad owns he doesn't own, but he has access to the ownership of the YouTube channels. And so all of those instructor brands are actually owned by the central company. So actually being an instructor isn't as great as you think it is, because look at it like this. A lot of the instructors, I'm sure some of them had their own brand agreements, their own contracts with the central company, but it's basically a 50-50 split. So look at it from the point of view of someone like Max, who's pulling in millions of dollars and actually having the most successful brand. Now imagine how Max feels when at the end of the year, or at the end of every quarter, he has to look at how much money is going to the central company. And then someone like Max has to ask himself, well, how much is that central company even doing for me? And that's pretty much my understanding. Now, there's, I think, many reasons why Max eventually left the company to do his own thing. But part of it is also Max didn't really need to be in that partnership with Central like that. Max had a brand that was more powerful than the Central brand. The only thing where I think the complex exists is Max also, he got his start through the brand. And if a no-name person gets to start as an RSD instructor, you're going to launch your YouTube channel. We'll use me as an example. You're going to launch RSD Spencer, and I'm no one. And I'm going to start posting videos, and there's probably little to no engagement. But you know what I have access to? The list, the email list, the marketing. I mean, they had a ginormous email list. They had clients. And so when you have your come up within Real Social Dynamics, the beauty is you're in that community. You have access to that culture. You have access to all those people. And so you could have a faster come up than completely alone. But then, one second. Excuse me, my throat's a little dry. Then when you become the level of Max and the company, Max was based in Kiev at the time, Kiev, Ukraine. He had his own videographer team. He even had his own sales guys. Like Max was he really had all the infrastructure for himself. And so why would he want to be in this partnership thing? Why? I don't know. But so RSD Central owns all these channels. And so that means that eventually when Max would leave the company, he would lose his, I don't know, he had like a 6-figure subscriber YouTube channel in like the 200,000s, I think. That's a lot of hustle. Truly, that's incredible, Max. Shout out to RSD Max's channel. But that meant when he leaves the company, he does not own that asset. That's the company's asset. You see? So there's a loss there. And when Nick came walking with all that gusto up to me and Vlad working, and Sarah trailing behind him, this is what happened. This was the moment when my true, my heart is broken. I don't belong here. And again, it's probably my fault. I probably could have worked harder for this, but I'm glad I didn't. So it's okay. Nick says to Vlad, I want you to make RSD Sarah right now, the channel on YouTube. You're going to make RSD Sarah right now, because he has to tell Vlad to do it because it has to be the central company to make the channel. And Sarah's just there really happy. She's just like floaty. The coolest thing about her from her point of view, I imagine, I can't speak for her, but I imagine is for her, it's just like this quick and cool, convenient come up. It's sweet. I'm looking at her thinking, how dare you? But it's not her fault. It's not her fault. And so get this, we were just on stage together, and I think what was happening is Nick was already very committed to the idea of Sarah. It was already gonna happen, right? It was already gonna happen. So regardless of output, regardless of quality, it's gonna happen anyways, right? But I think what Nick wasn't ever thinking was me having a channel. I don't know. I can't speak for him, but that's what I think. And so he comes up to Vlad and I. He's like, I want you to make the RSD Sarah channel right now, because that's how he talks. And Vlad is like, okay, yeah, sure thing. We stop everything we're doing just to oblige the CEO. And then Nick looks at me, because again, we were all on stage together just within the last half hour. And then he says, I also want you to make RSD Spenny. Yeah, RSD Spenny. And in that moment, I felt frozen, because it was like, oh, this is it. I did it. It's my dream. My dream come true. But this is not how I wanted it to happen. Remember, guys, I have such an ego. Have we been listening to every episode of this podcast? I have such an ego. Do you think I want to be the afterthought? After everything, all the love, all of the psychic attention I've put into this industry and this company, my great vision for what it could be. After everything, do you think I want to hear and participate in the conversation of make the RSD Sarah channel, and also RSD Spenny? Do you think that's what I want? No. And it's no one's fault but my own. It actually goes to show, you know what I often think about, my lesson from this whole thing is one must be very mindful of their manifestation prowess. Because when I look at my experience with that company, I think, Spencer, you did it. Everything you did it. You really did your dream. You lived your dream. Technically, if I look at my intentions, I lived the dream, guys. I got it. But my problem, and this is why I say my lesson after everything is to be very mindful of manifestation prowess, is one must be very careful of how specific you're going to be about the dream. Because I wasn't specific enough. And so in a way, I was gifted and rewarded from the universe. I got everything I ever wanted. I got the company to summon me without me ever applying. That's pretty magical. I accomplished like so many interesting experiences being a part of this company, being a part of this entity. I even had the chance to become RSD Spenny is what they wanted. I even had the chance. Like I manifested the dream every step of the way. However, a lot of it didn't happen the way I would have wanted it to happen. And my problem is, as much as I focused so much of my energy of wanting and willing for something to happen, I was never truly an active participant in the process. And so the way it was happening for me wasn't always the best way. In fact, that was one of the most heartbreaking days on the job. And you know what's cute? One day I'll look back. Oh, fuck, where is that video? I think I lost the hard drive where this video is. Ugh, what a loss if that's the case. Because it was one of those things where I really wanted to like look back on it years later. But later in the day, so okay, well, just to show you how that conversation ended. Obviously, we made the RSD Sarah channel, duh. But there was like a lull because I told you I was frozen. Because Nick didn't say, hey, do you want to become RSD Spenny? He was like, make it. And then Vlad had the kind of sense to turn to me and be like, is that what you want? And I want to say, I never even really told Vlad so transparently that is what I wanted. So he wasn't even so sure. The other thing is, I think because I was Vlad's EA, his executive assistant, and I was really good at that job. I was good at both being EA and I was good at both being EA and managing the marketing with him. So he really liked me. I was very valuable to him as like an asset of performance. And so I don't think it's in Vlad. This is where it's like, it's not in Vlad's best interest for me to be RSD Spenny, because that means I'm going to be less in his team and more on my brand, right? So Vlad kind of was there to almost be a bit of a point of friction between me and Nick, because Vlad was able to turn to me and actually gauge my consent. You know, thank you for doing that. Because Nick wasn't really asking, Nick was telling, which is very in his nature. And Vlad turned to me to be like, should I make RSD Spenny right now? Like, is this what you want? And I simply remember being like, nah, I don't think so. No. And that was it. You know, like, it's not that, it's funny how, I wonder how someone like Max maybe felt when he was just an unpaid assistant for a year, hustling his butt off way more than I ever did, for sure. You know, again, credit to Max, as much as I was beating up on him a little bit, like way more than I ever did. And then when he finally became an instructor and it was like him at dinner with Owen and Nick like being like, you start now. Like, is that how Max saw it happening in his head? I don't know. Or I think Max sometimes he would share this anecdote. Oh yeah, I think this is a better example. Max would share this anecdote of how when he first ever came to LA to start his unpaid assistantship, he knew he was going to be Tyler's assistant, you know, Owen's assistant. And that means being like a pickup assistant. Yeah, like, well, it's like in everything. I think it's a lifestyle assistant in all ways. The way Owen had a manager when I was there, but it's also someone to assist on the programs. And Max was like so excited, so delighted, and he like shows up to like wherever to go like meet the team to start his unpaid experience, and he goes and he sees Tyler and he approaches him being like, oh, hi Tyler, like I'm so excited to get started, it's nice to meet you, puts his hand out, and then Tyler like has barely any idea who Max is, because it's not like he's really that proactively involved in the hiring process, and offers his hand to Max and gives like this limp handshake, you know, disillusionment. And Max being there like, I just met my hero. It was the most disappointing experience of my life. I think that's where you and I, Max, we have something in common. We both have a chip on our shoulder, you know? So shout out to us. It's like the most disappointing experience of your life, you know? And then from there, I'm sure that disappointment probably informed some of Max's angling and work ethic and his like drive to just dominate. How could it not? And then for me, it was like, oh, like it's funny how like this is it. I'm being asked to have my dream. And yet it's like someone facilitating the conversation, Vlad, asking me, is that what you want? And me going, no, because in my inner world, I'm thinking, are you kidding me? Abso-fucking-lutely. I've wanted this since I was 16 or 17 and I'm 24 now. Holy shit. Of course I want this. Are you fucked? This is my dream, but not like this. Not like this. Not like this. I can't do it like this. My ego won't allow it. And later that night in Vegas, what's his name? Peter, not Thiel, don't worry, it's not that powerful. But one of these like powerful millionaire people was throwing a party in Vegas, and everyone on the instructor team and also Vlad, so like a few executives, were invited to this party. And I watched everyone's Instagram stories that night alone in my hotel room, so I saw all the hype. There were like there was live music. There were all these like cool things. You know, Vegas, it's fun. Parties are fun. There were like llamas everywhere. It looked super fun. Every fucking instructor was there. All the like important personalities were there. Everyone, and you know, Instagram optics, like everyone looked so happy, so cool. The chosen ones, they're all at the party having so much fun. And Sarah was there too. And so I really had the hotel room to myself. Sarah was there at the party. You know, she's now officially RSD Sarah. And we both were on stage earlier that day. I know, sorry, girl. I just have to say, like, objectively, I crushed it. You know, it's all good. Because eventually she started to crush it. Because I would eventually be like a marketer assisting Sarah at some point. And I got to see her public speaking skills and her on-program skills would improve and improve and improve. That's why my disclaimer going into all this is like anything sour or butthurt I could say about this girl, it's not her, it's me. It's me every step of the way. She got so good. But in that very beginning, that first speech, the day we both had the chance to be RSD whatever, I just know. And that's good because that was my one time. That was utopia before disappointment. And, you know, again, I'm sad that I think I lost the hard drive that had this video on it. But that night in our hotel room, I remember recording basically a show ahora before I knew what that was. I recorded like a video diary of me crying. And I said something, fuck, what a disappointment that I don't have that. I mean, I'll have to see if I could find that video file somewhere. But it was basically a message to my future self, or no, a message to my present self, because I was so beat down. I was so heartbroken. I felt so sad. I was so sad. I was so FOMO that everyone who I guess the company deemed to be cool qualified to be invited to this thing, and I didn't qualify. You know what I mean? Like I noticed, not me. The girl I'm in a hotel room with, she gets to go, not me. She gets, well, I was invited to be RSD Spencer, but that was just not it. That, like an afterthought, no way. No way. And I remember recording this thing crying and really like having a message. I think it was a message to myself. Like I would love to find it. And cause like one day, I think the reason why I was recording it is cause I wanted to one day publish it or look back on it and be like, see, you know, like this was the lowest low. Cause this was the moment where my heart, and this is what I was saying, how in my 20s, sure, the lowest lows of my life were definitely later in my 20s when I was hit by a car. Like that was truly low. But in terms of relating to my effort and my intentions and my purity of intent, in my 20s, it was involved in this company, my highest highs and my lowest lows. Because it just like, I so hurt and so overlooked, but also again, to making this my fault, I didn't properly set up my intentions or my vision. I was feeling the game out too slowly. There's a point where I have to lean in and play to win. But when I look back on everything, I always have this feeling of relief in present day where I think, thank God I never had the reputation of being RSD Spenny or RSD Spencer. Because it's even recording these podcasts, how comfortable do you think I am being associated to the title of Real Social Dynamics or RSD? You're just one Google search away from seeing that this company has a lot of problematic allegations against them. And even if apart from any kind of problematic allegation, it's like the vibe of it, the energy of it, like, ugh. Is that something I want on my reputation? No. And yet here I am having a very honest conversation about my involvement in the company, because at the same time, I feel like with who I am and with how I was conducting myself, I have nothing to hide. Like, God forbid, I was exploring the dark side a little bit, but I think it's because the vision I had for what their content could become is basically how present day content exists. This shit was all before TikTok was a thing, right? Like, present day content is people are talking heads on the internet and they offer value regardless of their fucking like little cult-like associations to some sort of brand identity. And the reality is, I personally am working on my own brand of being Spencer from Social Dynamics Nerd, where I get to offer value literally exactly like I would have done if I were RSD Spenny. I would have been sharing the exact same social dynamics, hot takes. I would have been sharing some sort of dating and attraction and flirting advice, just like I do on TikTok all the time, just like my videos that pop off all the time. And like, they do well because it's all about this stuff that I'm really fascinated in. And I could have been doing all of that through the guise of being RSD Spenny and had like a very male dominated audience and maybe made some money off of it and maybe had a whole thing. I mean, the real vision I had is like, if we're going to start integrating female instructors and all this and that, the whole point is we're going to branch away from the whole pickup thing, right? And eventually, the funniest part is the company now does not exist. It's fully dissolved. It's now, they do all their programming through a new company name called, I don't even fucking know, Self Mastery Co. SMC. Self Mastery. And so like, guys, you guys were trending in the direction of self-help anyways. And so why the fuck weren't we like building the repertoire, the brand repertoire like that? But I think with the vision of Sarah is like, I also think this is where men are kind of dumb as fuck. I know that I'm brilliant, truly, you know, like I'm not insecure about that. I know I'm brilliant. I know I'm also dumb too. I don't want to be too cocky here. I'm dumb and brilliant, just like most brilliant people are. Fucking smart and fucking dumb at the same time. But I'm not quite, when it comes to being a woman, obviously I'm not quite like conventionally, well, I am conventionally attractive in terms of being like a pretty white woman, tons of privilege in that. But when it comes to being like a hot woman that specifically men are desiring, I'm not her. I know, like largely. And when it came to like a girl like Sarah, she fit that bill a lot more. And I think that's where like these guys were also dumb and thinking with their dicks. They were like, seeing her opportunity as a successful instructor based on how the male audience is going to feel about her. And can I say as a fan, even though I'm not a man, I always found that to be so insulting. I found it to be insulting to the intelligence of the fans. Like, I guess I knew in my heart, especially based on the speech that we did together, the ability to connect with value with the audience is one thing. And then the ability to just be someone who's like, and again, I'm not saying this to reduce Sarah, because she became really incredible. She really did. She really, just like I scaled in my skill set as a marketer, like she scaled in her skill set as a coach and a speaker. She really did. She really fucking did. And yet, like, I think in the beginning, part of the ROI of investing in her was like, well, she's like the kind of girl that the guys want to fuck. And so she'd be a good RSD female instructor. You know, eventually when, like after all this happened, I was fully bought out. Like I was fully just like, okay, well, I'm the marketing branch. Like this is my job. That's it. Like my degree of being a fan or whatever, like I just felt so insulted by the company. Again, not just on an interpersonal level, but like as a fan, how dare you? Because you guys were always like the leaders, the thought leaders. You guys were moving plots forward. And I knew this problematic past of being a pickup artist is something we can get through together. Lo and behold, you know, RSD Central, if anyone is listening from the olden days, for all you knew, I had the answers to save your company, you know, because I am the future. And the cool thing is, Sarah's also the future. Us young women, us young people, like we are the fucking future because we sense culture. We know where culture's going. And guess what? They lost Sarah and everything too. Like, I think she only stayed an instructor for maximum 2 years. She extracted the value she wanted and she got the fuck out. Good for her. Hell yeah. Love that behavior. You want to know something, RSD Central? I would have never left you like that because I'm dumb and she's smart. So good for her. When I eventually like told my brother what was the situation was happening, like I kind of like briefly talked about it. My brother, who's not into any of this stuff at all, he's definitely like informed. He's a feminist. He's all this and that. And he's like, ugh, typical patriarchy pinning women against each other. And when he said that, I was like, oh, I didn't even see it like that. That's so smart. Like, I don't think any of these guys are clever enough to have been doing that consciously. I don't think that's like a conscious competence type of behavior. Like, yes, we're going to pin the women against each other. But it definitely was happening. And I was definitely falling into the trap, and I was like losing it. And I felt so bitter, dude. I felt so bitter. It was so negative. And I mean, the good news is I eventually left the company on my own accord, and I left on like not a bad note. I left on a good note not too long after. Just because it was time. You know, it was time. Sometimes it's time to move on. And I think my relationship with that company is I called that shot at a good time, because I have otherwise, you know, as I explained in the 3rd episode of this podcast, and another job after I was hit by the car, there is such thing as like over welcoming your stay. And I think when it came to this company, I did, it was a sweet spot, and I'm happy I took advantage of that sweet spot when I could. So this was the part 4. And I know when I initially set out to make this series, I said, oh, it's just going to take 4 parts. Well, apparently not. I think I can do one more, because I never critiqued the industry and how they enabled slimy behavior in men that I saw myself. And I want to talk about that. And so I guess in the next episode, we'll talk on that, and maybe I'll finish on that. But what I will be doing, just like I did in the first part of this series, I finished on more of a high note. Like I discussed pickup as a whole, what it is, how I came to know what it is, the things I don't like about it. And then I finished the episode saying the things I do like about it. Because in the next episode, I know I'm going to discuss more like high stakes matters. And it's not going to be favorable for them at all. I'll also probably either do a closing episode thereafter, or I'll dedicate the later part of the episode just to wrap it up with cleaner thoughts, more resolved thoughts, because I mean, I've thought of all these things for years. So anything I will present that is critical of them, I've been aware of it for years. So it's not like I'm not resolved. It's not like I don't have a sort of like a silver lining point of view of the whole thing, or like a digested point of view of the whole thing. And so stay tuned for that. This was like the overview experience of everything. At least now as a viewer, we can validate me knowing like, Spencer, you really did it. You lived your dream. It's just that I lived the dream incorrectly. And so for anyone who's manifesting right now, my warning to you, my little advice rather, is just make sure you have the clarity of thought, clarity of intention, because I think I underestimated how powerful I am in that regard. Like I did it all. It's just that none of it happened the way I wanted it to happen. So I think now, since it's literally at the time of recording January 1st, 2026, and, you know, New Year's resolutions, manifestations, whatever, I'm definitely thinking while talking about this, what is it that I want to welcome in my life? And like, what do I really want it to look like? How should it be welcomed into my life? Rather than leaving it up to the disorganized chaos of the universe to grant me all of my wishes, but sometimes in a way that can be more insulting than if it never happened in the first place. And I think when that happened with like, Vlad, I want you to make the RSD Sarah channel. And while you're at it, RSD Spenny. Yeah, that's a good idea. Let's do that. It's like, had that never happened as a conversation, like maybe I would have felt better. I think that night that I was in the hotel room alone crying because everyone else was out partying at the like exclusive party that I easily could have been invited to, but no one wanted me there, you know, because if they wanted me there, I would have been there. Let's be honest. And I knew it then. I'm not delusional. I'm like, fuck. I am social dynamics nerd. I know what's happening. I didn't make the cut. Sucks to be me. I don't even think I would have made the cut even if Nick made my channel. You know what I mean? Like, even if I was like, okay, yeah, make it, I think I still would have been excluded. How sad is that? It's okay. Chip on my shoulder. It helps me move forward. But in a way, like, just having that dream be presented to me in the way it was like possibly more insulting and painful than if it never was. So I really think in a way, like karmic cycles or whatever, the universe was, if anything, teaching me a lesson in manifestation. All this work, all this psychic energy about your quote unquote little dream. Well, look, it's happening, but it's happening in the way that's going to make you feel like shit. And it's not like I'm not an active participant in it. I am. Like I said, I could have been more like Sarah. Shout out to her. Like there are some people that are just really, they're go-getters in a real way. And I think the way I'm a go-getter, I mean, I have my moments. I have my moments. You know, like for instance, if I have a big fat crush on someone, I'm quite a go-getter. Love that shit. But when it comes to like my career path, life dream thing, that shit means so much to me. And yet I didn't go get it nearly enough. So that's the overview. You know, there's so many little anecdotes I could have shared about working with RSD, so many things, obviously, but it'd be nice to wrap up these parts. And also, I don't feel bad going one more part than prescribed, because I mentioned when in the preamble of what's to come in this podcast, so that was episode 4 of this podcast, how there was, I was planning after the Pickup Artist series to discuss my experience with ayahuasca. Shout out to Max. You and me both, brother. But that's why I'm critical of anyone like doing ayahuasca, because like, same here, bro. Like I can shit on you because like I did it too. There are pros and cons to that. I initially said that the ayahuasca thing could be a 2-parter. I don't think it needs to be. So I'm not gonna like feel too prescribed to anything. I'm trying to have the most honest and real conversation here. So we'll do at least one more episode on the Pickup Artist thing, so I could really kind of knock it out of the park and just finish, you know, just truly like finish, and then just move on to all of my own special interests and the conversations I want to have. And then when anyone wonders like, Spencer, what were you doing with the whole pickup thing? Well, I'll be able to point you to this podcast, and you could tune in and listen and learn and see me and who I was in that process. Thank you so much for seeing me and being here. Thank you. I really appreciate it.